Hey friend, I decided to embark on a journey to reinvent and transform my life in 2022. And I want to take you along for the ride. So stay tuned because for the next 10 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you this amazing journey as I go through the Unleash Her Power Within program powered by Tony Robbins. Hey, friend, welcome to a new episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. This is a bonus episode, and I'm going to be adding this bonus episodes for the next 10 weeks. Why 10 weeks? Well, if you listened to a couple of episodes ago where I talked about the 10 shifts that I'm intentionally making in 2022, I shared that one of them is to make myself a priority, to focus on my personal growth. And I have embarked in this amazing journey of Unleash Her Power Within. It's a 10-week program that I had signed up, a program that I've been thinking about signing. I've been dancing in my mind between back and forth and whether I should enroll in this program or not. And finally made the decision to commit to the Unleash Her Power Within. This is a program that is powered by Tony Robbins and that again I've been thinking about joining for a while, and this year the window of opportunity opened and I decided to jump in. I felt that now is the right time for me to embark in this journey. Maybe now as I'm starting this journey because we started last week with week one. I realized that now is the right time for me to go on this journey. So, what I thought I will do is to share that journey with you. This podcast, it's all about bringing you along in my journey. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I certainly don't. And I'm just someone who loves to learn, someone who loves to grow, someone who loves to experience new things and loves to stretch myself beyond my comfort zone. And I think it will be so powerful for me personally to share my journey with you and to take you along this 10-week journey. So, again, I decided to embark in this journey. I think that now is the right time in my life to do it. And I'm very excited. I'm super looking forward. Last week was week one, and I I was it reaffirmed why I'm here, why I decided to go on this journey. So I want to take you with me and I want to share with you every week what are my key takeaways from that week and what am I doing? Because, there is a quote that says, knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is power. So I know that I'm going to learn a ton over the next 10 weeks. But it's not about what I learn or the knowledge that I acquire. It's about how do I apply what I'm learning. And I love the fact that this is a 10-week program and that every week we take a step further in this journey, and it gives us the opportunity to really work and apply what we learn on this session, because every week there is a session. It's about 2 hours every week. Sometimes it's a little bit more, or we've been told is going to be sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less, but around 2 hours every week. And we go deep into that step. And just to give you an idea, the way the program is structured is this building blocks, right? And there's 4 building blocks of the program. The first building block, which is the first 3 weeks of the program, is about awakening. Is about laying the foundation. And that's what we started on week one. And I'm going to share with you more about that today. Then the second block, which is weeks 4 through 6, is reinvention, which if you heard to that podcast about the 10 shifts that I want to make in 2022, I share with you how I've been struggling with the power word that I picked for myself for 2022. I picked that word. Actually, in 2020, I had two words for 2021, which were thrive and unstoppable. And I went with thrive. It felt right at the time. And I'm like, okay, I have the word for 2022 already. And I actually made two bracelets with both words. So I already had the bracelet. I went through the exercise myself, which I explained on a podcast episode at the end of last year on how to come up with your power word. But long story short, after coming back from my vacation where I went and visit my family after over 2.5 years without seeing them, I questioned that word. And I was between unstoppable and reinvention. So the fact that this is one of the building blocks of the program is like another sign that this is the right time for me to embark in this journey. Because for me, 2022 is going to be a year of reinvention for sure, and a year of transformation. And that is the next building block of this program, transformation. And that is week 7 um, through week 9, I believe. And as part of this building block of transformation, I'm going to be attending Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins, which is something that has been on my bucket list and on my vision board for years now. And this year, I'm going to get to do that in March. And I will share with you also my experiences from that event as well. And then the last building block of this program, which is the last week of the program, is momentum, which is something that I love, that I've been talking about, right? If you've been following along, the last 90 days of 2021 were all about how to end the year strong and create momentum into 2022. So I think this program is going to help me create that momentum after the 10 weeks are over, so I can carry over all the transformation, all the reinvention that is going to happen in the next 10 weeks. So let's talk about week 1, which was amazing. It was a little bit longer because we went through a lot of the methodology of the program on this week 1. We had an orientation session before, so all those basics were covered ahead of time, which was great because I got an opportunity to really get some clarity around expectations from the program. What can I expect? How is going to go? How can I better prepare so I can take the most out of the program? So really like how it was structured. And we got that orientation like a week before the program actually started. But in week 1, we covered, first of all, the methodology. And basically, um, there we started answering this question of what is the difference that makes the difference. And this is something that if you have listened to Tony Robbins, whether it is his podcast, whether you have attended a training with him or one of the free events that he does here and there, or you've read some of his books, he talks about what is the difference that makes the difference. And we all can think about many things, right? We can think about it is commitment, it is resilience, it is focus, it is energy, it is whatever you can think about. And what he says is that it all boils down to one word, and that word is patterns, which is something that I have heard before. So I wasn't surprised, but I'll tell you that the first time that I heard this, I was like, what? What? Yes, patterns. Patterns are the difference that makes the difference. And patterns are habits, are things that we do consciously and unconsciously. A lot of times they are unconscious. Um, and we all have good patterns and bad patterns, right? If I substitute the word patterns with habits, you can think about good habits that you have and bad habits that you have in your life. It's part of human life. It's part of being human. But in the training, the reason why we talked about patterns is because we have been conditioned to this patterns, right? After you repeat something over and over and over again, it becomes part of who you are. And a lot of these patterns are not even our patterns, but are patterns that we have learned through our family of origin, through our teachers, through the experiences in life, through what we think, or I'm making air quotes here, what we think are the society standards, the things that we should do. And we create patterns in our life through repetition. Some are good, some are bad. But there is a moment in time where we find a window of awakening. And when that window of awakening opens, we basically become aware of those patterns that we have. And then we decide that we want to make a change, right? How many times you have all of a sudden become self aware about something about yourself. And when you became self aware, then all of a sudden you're like, I don't like this part of me. Or I think this part of me can be better. And you want to make a change. And what happens? We find ourselves trying to make a change to those patterns that we have after we have become aware of those. And what happens when we try to show up differently, when we try to do something differently, it feels uncomfortable, right? Because it is different, where every time you break a pattern, it feels uncomfortable. And so we revert back to the way it was because being in our patterns is comfortable. So we revert back to what feels comfortable. But at one time, we're faced with this line of decision, right? When we need to step forward, when we have to say yes and take the risk and hit that yes, even if it feels uncomfortable. We need to make that decision to move forward, to stay congruent with the change that we need to make in order to live the life that we want. Now that we are aware, we know what is that change that we need in our lives, right? And we need to make that decision to move forward to that change, even if it feels uncomfortable. But what happens? It does feel uncomfortable. And because it feels uncomfortable, we're constantly making this dance between our current patterns and the future patterns that we want to adopt in our life. If we haven't get truthful with who we are and what we desire, we're always going to find ourselves in this dance between our current version of ourselves and that future version of ourselves, between our current patterns and those future patterns. So, if we want to stop that dancing, we need to strengthen the muscle of decision making. And in order to do that, we need to practice what KK in the training calls staying power, right? The power to stay in that future pattern. And um, one thing that was very eye opening to me, and I talked about this actually last week on the 6 a.m. club, which was a coincidence that this came up and I came to the same conclusion. And then I heard it in the session and I was like, oh my God, this was like a message that I needed to hear. And that is that you can hold both. You can hold your current patterns while you work on those future patterns. You can hold your current self while you work on your future self. And in between your current patterns and that line of decision is your identity. That is one of the key components of the methodology of Unleash Her Power Within. And what we learn about our identity is that we hold two identities. We hold a limiting identity and we hold an empowering identity. And when you are in that line of decision that I talked about before, you need to ask yourself what version of you is showing up to make that decision. It is in the moments of decision that we shape our destiny. That is a quote from Tony Robbins. It's in the moments of decision that we shape our destiny. And he says, choose wisely. And that choice is the choice of what identity is from which you're making that decision. That is the most critical choice. It's going to be uncomfortable to choose the version that you haven't practiced in a while when the stakes are high, right? When the stakes are high, we're being pulled by our old patterns. And we need to make that conscious decision to bring that empowering identity that we have inside of us in order to make decisions when stakes are high. When you make decisions from this limiting identity, your mind is taking over, and you might feel um, fear and anger. Maybe procrastination kicks in, anxiety, worry, uncertainty, shame, ego. Those things are fueling that limiting identity of yours. I share with you how I have been dancing on this decision of, should I join this program or not? Should I spend this amount of money on this? And this limiting identity of me is like, have you ever seen in the movies where you have like the two little characters on someone's shoulders, and you have the little angel and you have the little devil? That limiting identity is like little devil, right? That is pulling you back and is telling you, I don't know, you shouldn't spend that much money on that. There are so many other free resources out there that you can leverage. Oh, you don't have the time. You're not going to be able to commit. You're too busy. You have too many other priorities. This is not the right time. You're being selfish by focusing on yourself. And then there's the other character, my empowering identity, because remember, we have both with us, that is alive, that is energetic, that is focused, that is unstoppable, that is sure and confident and blissful and prepared and passionate and centered, that is saying, go for it. Go for it. You need to make yourself a priority. You need to invest in yourself. You need to go all in. This is for you. You need to do this. And you know what? When that window of opportunity opened for me, my empowering identity kicked in. And I didn't even think about it. I just used the 5-second rule. It felt right. I embody that empowering identity, and I count 5 backwards: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I hit subscribe or enroll or whatever the word was on the web page. And I did it. I made that investment in myself. And I'm so happy. I am so, so happy that my empowering identity kicked in that exact moment. A lot of times when we procrastinate in that decision, we're just allowing ourselves to continue to make that dance between that limiting identity and that empowering identity. And you know what? Typically, the limiting identity pulls us back harder than that empowering identity, because all our limiting beliefs, all our excuses are coming up and making us doubt. And when we are in doubt, when we have uncertainty, we don't make the best decisions that we can. That has been my experience. Another thing that we talked about on the first session is that you are the CEO of your life. I talked about this in the episode on Monday. And as such, as being the CEO of our lives, we need to make the decisions that are going to make us move towards living our most fulfilling life, towards making the best out of our lives. That is our job as the CEO of our lives. So, that was a little bit of that is the methodology of Unleash Her Power Within. So, on week 1, we spend a lot of time evaluating our lives, evaluating ourselves. And there was this exercise that I've done many times in the past, but this time felt a little bit different. And it is because I gave myself permission to go deep into this exercise. But we did wheel of life exercise. I've talked about this exercise many times on the podcast when I talked about my vision board, when I talk about goal setting, where I talk about the things that I do as I'm ending a new year and starting at ending at the past year and starting a new year. And in this particular exercise, we looked at 10 different sections that represent the typical areas of a person's life. We evaluate our career and our work. We evaluate our health and fitness. We evaluated our relationships, our family and friendships, time, contribution, personal growth and learning, spirituality, fun, play, celebration, and money and finances. So we went through this exercise of evaluating ourselves from 1 to 10 in each of these areas of our lives. And here's the one thing that was different for me this time that any other time that I've done this exercise. And that is when I looked at this wheel, I've been thinking or using the framework of success. I'm measuring how successful I feel in these areas of my life. And this time, I did evaluate myself based on success as the parameter, but I also and foremost evaluated myself in terms of fulfillment. So for each of these 10 categories of my life, I evaluated myself from 1 to 10 using the perspective of success and using the perspective of fulfillment. And it was really eye opening that there were gaps between these two. That sometimes, if I was measuring my success, I rated myself higher than when I was measuring my level of fulfillment. And this happened in several of the categories, like my career and work. When people look at my career from the outside, they will think that I'm a 10, that I've grown so fast in my career, which I have. I have a very successful career. And I feel really proud of all the successes that I've had in my career. And while I feel fulfilled in my career, I rank myself higher in terms of success that I did in terms of fulfillment. The other category was time. People always come to me looking for me to answer the question, how do I do it all? They all think of me as someone that is very efficient, that has really good time management skills, someone who does more in with less than the average person. And that is true. And I think I have developed great time management tools in my toolbox and systems that I've put in place that have allowed me to do that. And when someone asks me to come and talk about something, productivity and time management is one of those areas of expertise of mine because I've been very successful. But do I feel fulfilled when it comes to my time? Is it the time running me or am I running my time? Do I feel centered in the way that I'm using my time? Do I feel fulfilled in the way that I'm using my time? And well, I do. And I ranked it pretty high. It was lower than when I think about it from the sense of success. So that was one of the things that was um, most eye opening for me in this exercise, looking at these two perspectives. Of course, there were instances where my fulfillment was higher than my success. For example, contribution was one of those areas. I feel so fulfilled by the level of contribution that I'm able to make at work. In this podcast, for example, it really fulfills me. Am I successful? Some people might think I am. In my eyes, I'm still not there because I'm very ambitious and I have really ambitious goals for myself of what I want to do in this space of contribution, right? So my fulfillment was higher than my success. So I had both scenarios in all of these areas. And then once we did that exercise, we took it a level deeper. And this was something that I really wanted to spend the time, right? If I made this investment in this program, I really want to give it my all. And this is one of the areas where I felt out of the gate on week one that I needed to give it my all. And that is we identify the categories that are going well for ourselves and why. Why is succeeding in these areas important for us? So, for me, personal growth and learning is one of those areas. Time, finances, health, and fitness. They're areas that I feel I'm doing pretty well, right? And I'm doing pretty well because I made those areas at one point a priority. They're things that I'm passionate about. They're things that I have drive towards. And they're important to me because they bring me fulfillment. They make me feel that I'm growing, that I'm making progress. And that makes me feel excited and passionate. And at the same time, I feel centered when I'm able to invest in some of these things like my personal growth or my health and fitness. But then we stretch ourselves and think about what could it make these areas even better. There might be the areas where we're thriving right now, but what can we do to make it even better, to take it one step further, right? To take it to the next level. And that was very interesting for me because in some cases I've thought about that. Like with my personal growth, I'm always thinking, how can I go to the next level? That is a question that I'm constantly asking myself, but I don't have that same discipline of asking that to myself in other areas of my life. So this was really, really eye opening to me. And then we identify the areas that need most work and why. And I think that those areas are going to change over time, right? The areas that I picked right now for myself might not be the same areas that I would have picked a year ago, or maybe that I will pick a year from now. But based on where I am right now in this point in my life, um, you might assume what some of those are if you listen to the episode on the 10 shifts that I'm making this year. But one of these areas for me is relationships. I want to take my relationships to the next level. Do I feel fulfilled? Yes. I want to feel even more fulfilled because I know that I can. I know what it's possible. And I want to take it to the next level. So that is one area that I picked. Another area that I picked that might be surprising for many people listening to the podcast is my career and work. I want to match my fulfillment to my success. I mentioned to you when I rated this particular area of my life in terms of success and in terms of fulfillment, there was a gap. And that's why I picked this area. I want to match the two. Not that I want to lower my success, but I want to increase my fulfillment so it matches my success. And and then we went a level deeper even, and we started to think about what would be the worst consequences if we kept the patterns in the exact same way that there currently are in these areas of our lives that we want to focus on. So if I continue to repeat the same patterns that I've been repeating until now, and in my head I was thinking 5 years, 10 years from now, if things stay in the status quo and they don't change, what is the worst consequence that can happen? And that what it does is that it creates leverage. And I felt doing this exercise, I really created leverage for myself because what I saw 5, 10 years from now is definitely not the life that I want for myself. It's definitely not how I want to show up for myself in my work with the people that matter most in my life. And then we talked about in order to get to the next level in those categories that we pick, what must be your focus, right? What are the things that you have to focus on? And I like this part because we need to narrow down our focus. A lot of times we pick areas of our life that we want to improve, and we want to do everything under the sun to improve in that area. And then we hustle on all these different things and we take on so many things that we end up giving up because we're overwhelmed. And back to that episode I did on the 10 shifts that I'm making this year, one of the things that I want to change is I want to hustle less and I want to increase my intentionality with what I do. And I want to give my 150, my 200% in what I commit to do, but I want to be more intentional to what I commit. And I want to look at those things through the lenses of my why. And now I have another lens to look at it, and that is the lens of leverage. The leverage that I was able to create in week 1 of Unleash Her Power Within. So then that we had leverage, we needed to create a compelling future. This is something I had heard from Tony Robbins in the past, and I loved this exercise because I got the opportunity to design life in my own terms. I got the opportunity to look into the future and design the life on my own terms. How would I like to see my life to be if I was living life in my own terms in these categories that I picked? And I will confess that I cried when I did this exercise. I was so emotional by this exercise that it created this amazing, compelling future vision of what life on my own terms can look like. That together with the leverage, it brought all this energy and all this excitement. And it's like, let's go, let's do this. Let's reinvent myself. Let's transform. Let's create momentum. So that was week 1 of Unleash Her Power Within. Today, we have our first session for week 2. I'm recording this on Monday. So every Monday, we have our sessions. And my goal is going to be that every Wednesday, I'm going to share with you what were my key takeaways from that week. And I want, as I said at the beginning, to bring you along on this journey with me. One, because I think that um, thinking selfishly is going to help me accountable, is going to help me go deeper in my self-reflection. But most importantly, because I think that with me sharing, I can inspire someone that is listening on the other side to embark on a journey like this. Whether you decide to enroll on Unleash Her Power Within or not, which by the way only happens once a year, and now enrollment is closed, so you need to wait until next year. But I want to share my experiences. So, regardless of whether you go on a program like this or any other program, that you think about these things and you have an opportunity to reflect on some of the things that I'm sharing in your life. And that can help you create that awareness. It can help you create that leverage and that compelling future that I was talking about, so you can reinvent, transform yourself, and create momentum in your life. So that was week 1 of Unleash Her Power Within. As you can feel, I'm super excited. I'm super pumped. I'm ready for week 2. I can't wait to share with you what I learned, how am I applying, and how is it going. So stay tuned every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks. Follow my journey on this amazing, amazing program that I decided to enroll into and to commit to. And I will see you here on Friday for the 6 a.m. club. Our podcast will normally release every Monday. And then for the next 10 weeks on Wednesdays, you can tune in and follow my Unleash Her Power Within journey. I hope you have an amazing day. I will talk to you soon. Take care.